You wake up, the screen lights up, notifications blink, you scroll, coffee, work, scroll again. And yet, something is missing. It's not exhaustion, it's something quieter, a stillness that should be peace but isn't, a feeling that you're not quite in your life anymore. Just watching it go by, have you ever felt that? Like your days are shrinking, like your presence is fading, like somewhere along the way you stopped burning. That fire, the one that used to drive you to create, to fight, to love fiercely, it's dimmed. You don't remember when it went out. You only know. Silence has taken its place. But here's the brutal truth. Silence isn't neutral. It's a decision. Every time you avoid the risk, delay the action, swallow the truth, you choose silence. And silence doesn't protect you. It erases you. Nietzsche warned us, the greatest threat is not pain, but apathy. Not wounds, but resignation. Sartre echoed him. You are condemned to be free. There's no script, no fate, only the choices you make or refuse to make. Together they offer a chilling ultimatum. Live like fire, or die in silence. So here's the question. Are you living with intensity, or are you quietly disappearing? The dangerous ground we stand on. Picture this. You're standing in a room. Quiet, dim. In the center, a single candle flickers. That fragile flame is your drive, your vision, your will to live awake. But the air is heavy, and with every breath the flame trembles. One wrong move and it could vanish. Forever. Most people protect that little light, guard it, coddle it. But they never realize the room itself is collapsing. The walls are rotting. The ceiling is falling in. So the question is not whether you can protect the flame. The question is, will you set the whole room on fire to survive? This is the terrain Nietzsche and Sartre force us to confront. It is not safe. It is not polite. But it is real. Nietzsche's thunderous declaration, God is dead, was not just about religion. It was about meaning. The old systems that once gave people purpose have crumbled. Authority, morality, tradition, all dust. In that collapse, a void opens. And what do? We fill it with distractions, comfort, obedience, scrolling endlessly, hoping something out there will define us. But Nietzsche doesn't pity you. He challenges you. If the old meanings are gone, create your own. Not borrowed, not inherited, born from your own fire. Sartre enters the scene like a scalpel to the soul. Existence precedes essence, he declares. No blueprint, no destiny. You exist first, and only then define who you are through your choices. Refuse that freedom, and you live in what he calls bad faith, a life of pretending, of saying I can't, when you really mean, I'm afraid. Here is the dangerous ground. On one side, a life of cautious preservation. On the other, the fire of becoming. Most never make the leap. Why? Because silence feels safe. It sedates you. But safety without growth is not peace. It's slow death. To live like fire means to burn, to risk, to transform. Nietzsche saw this as the only honest response to chaos. Sartre saw it as the only authentic way to live free. Together they throw you this challenge. Will you expand your fire until it becomes a blaze, or will you stand still, protecting a flame that's already dying? This is not philosophy. This is survival. And it starts now. Imagine this. You're at dinner with friends. Laughter circles the table. Plates clink. The music hums. But inside you, static. A quiet that doesn't feel restful. It feels empty. Not sadness, not depression. Just a subtle absence of spark. That's the first sign. The whisper of silence. And it never shouts. It simply waits. Nietzsche called it the decay of spirit, the moment when people stop striving and start settling. He warned of the last man, the one who seeks no glory, no greatness, no transformation, just ease, comfort, distraction. He survives, but never lives. Think about it. How many hours do we pour into scrolling, binging, numbing? Not because we love it, but because we fear stillness. The whisper says, "Stay where you are. This is enough." And we listen, not realizing we're rehearsing a slow disappearance. Sartre saw this too. He named it bad faith. The subtle lie we tell ourselves, "I can't change. I'm stuck." When really, we're choosing inertia, because freedom terrifies us. We blame circumstances. But it's not the world that cages us. It's our refusal to act. Psychologists call it learned helplessness. Dogs shocked at random eventually stop trying to escape, even when the doors open. Humans do the same. After enough disappointment, we no longer resist. We scroll, we shrug, we sigh. It is what it is. But silence is not peace. It is not rest. It is not mindfulness. It is surrender in disguise. The whisper feels safe, but that safety costs you your fire. Every time you avoid conflict, delay your dream, quiet your truth, you feed the silence, and the silence feeds on you. So pause. Ask yourself, in what areas of your life have you gone quiet? Your work, your voice, your desires? Where have you traded your fire for silence? Because until you hear the whisper, you cannot resist it. And until you resist it, you cannot reclaim your fire. This is the beginning, the call to notice, the first ember of rebellion, and it starts when you stop pretending that silence is peace. The weight of choice. You wake up, you check your phone. Already 100 small decisions wait for you. What to wear, who to reply to, which task to tackle first. Most people drift through these moments, but behind each one is a truth Sartre could never ignore. You are free, radically free. And that freedom is not a gift, it is a burden. Sartre called it the weight of choice. There is no essence that defines you, no divine script, no fate. You exist first, and only then do you shape who you are through what you choose. Sounds thrilling? It is. But it's also terrifying, because every road you don't take is still your responsibility. Even refusal is a decision. Nietzsche felt that weight too, but he gave it fire. He spoke of will to power, the courage to shape life rather than be shaped by it, the boldness to say, "This chaos is mine to command." He didn't see freedom as pressure. He saw it as potential, power waiting to be claimed. Think of someone nearing a life crossroad. Maybe it's you. You have an offer, a safe job, predictable, prestigious. But your soul itches for something riskier, something yours. Maybe art, maybe travel, maybe starting over. But then the whisper from stage one returns. Don't be foolish, be smart, be safe. And suddenly you tell yourself, I have no choice. Sartre would tear that sentence apart. You do have a choice. You're just afraid of owning it. Nietzsche would go further. If you do not risk, you cannot ignite. Fire never comes from safety. Psychologists call this decision fatigue and choice paralysis. Too many options lead to inertia. You freeze. But the longer you freeze, the heavier the burden grows. And regret? It doesn't usually come from choices made. It comes from choices avoided. Freedom is always there, whether you claim it or not. It doesn't wait politely. It looms. If you don't act, you're still choosing to stay small. Think of Theodore Roosevelt. Sickly. Fragile. He could have surrendered. Instead, he chose action. Lifting, riding, leading. He built himself through decisions. Each one ignited the next. Contrast that with millions stuck in loops. Jobs they hate. Relationships that drain. Habits that numb. All defended by one sentence. I can't change. That's not truth. That's bad faith. The weight of choice will never leave you. You cannot run, but you can rise. So ask yourself, where are you telling yourself, I have no choice? Where are you pretending to be trapped? That moment, when you admit the truth, is when the fire can begin. You are not caged. You are free. And that freedom is the heaviest thing you will ever carry. But it is also the most powerful. Lift it. There comes a moment when all the noise breaks, the music stops, The notifications mean nothing. The achievements lose their glow, and you are left with nothing but the echo of a single question. What now? This is the confrontation with the void. Nietzsche called it staring into the abyss. Sartre saw it as the collapse of all illusion. Psychology calls it an existential crisis, but whatever name you give it, the feeling is the same. Emptiness staring back at you. The story you believed about your life suddenly feels hollow. Have you ever reached a milestone, graduation, promotion, marriage, only to feel empty the next morning? That is the void speaking. You thought success would fulfill you. Instead, it exposed how little of it was ever truly yours. The void strips away your justifications. You can no longer say, "I'm busy." You can't blame the system, your boss, your ex. It's just you, staring into the mirror of meaninglessness. The void is not a punishment. It is a test. Nietzsche believed the collapse of external meaning was not a tragedy, but an invitation. He wrote, "One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star." The void is that chaos, and if you face it, it becomes the raw material for creation. Sartre agreed, though his lens was sharper. Without a script, there is no excuse. You must choose. You must define, or the void will define you. Think of the athlete who loses everything in a career-ending injury, or the entrepreneur whose company crumbles, or the parent whose children leave home. Who are you when the roles are gone, when the applause stops? That is the void asking, were you ever really alive or just performing? The confrontation hurts. It burns. But inside that burn is potential. Psychology shows us this too. Viktor Frankl wrote that those who found meaning, even in suffering, were the most resilient. He echoed Nietzsche. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. The void forces the same question. What is your why? So pause. Breathe. Face the emptiness. Do not run. Do not distract. Do not lie. Because this is the threshold. This is the fire starter. And only those who stand in the void without flinching are ready to create something real. Let the silence strip you bare. Let the meaninglessness break the illusions. Then, and only then, do you have the space to ignite. This is not the end. This is the brink of transformation. After the silence, after the wait, after the void, there comes a moment. You inhale, and for the first time, the breath is yours. This is the spark. Nietzsche called it the will to power, the birth of new meaning not given, but created, not inherited, but forged. It is not domination. It is self-creation. Imagine someone rising from loss, from collapse. They don't roar. They don't announce. They take one small, terrifying, necessary step. That is the spark. Sartre would say it is the moment you stop lying. You stop pretending you are not free. And you act. One decision. One act of responsibility. That is all it takes to begin again. Think of the first match struck in a dark cave. The flame is tiny, but everything changes. You see the walls, the path, possibility. That is what the spark feels like. Fragile, but awakening. Psychologists call it post-traumatic growth. The moment you use pain not as a prison, but as fuel. You write a poem. You apply for a course. You speak the truth. It looks small on the outside, but inside, a wildfire stirs. Nietzsche said, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." But he meant more than survival. He meant transformation. The spark is not comfort. It is defiance. It says, "I will not disappear." It says, "I will not be shaped by silence, fear, or failure." But here is the danger. The spark fades fast if you do not feed it. It must be protected, nurtured, and challenged. So ask yourself, what decision have you postponed because fear told you to wait? What truth have you swallowed because silence felt safer? What fire have you smothered because the world expected ashes? The spark is in you, but it is your responsibility to strike and to keep striking. Because the world will not hand you meaning. You must light it yourself, and once you do, the fire begins to grow. This is it. The moment the spark becomes more than survival, more than resistance, it becomes identity. To live as fire is not to burn out. It is to burn through. Through the fog of fear, through the noise of doubt, through the voices that say, be smaller, be softer, be safe. Living as fire means you no longer ask for permission to exist fully. You do not wait for the right time. You become the right time. Nietzsche imagined the Übermensch, the one who creates values, not copies them. The one who dances on the edge of chaos and calls it freedom. That is what living as fire means. You become a source, a creator, not of destruction, but of intensity. Sartre would say you are now in good faith, fully responsible, unapologetically choosing. Every act, a declaration. I am the author. Think of Frida Kahlo, painting through pain. Think of Malcolm X, speaking through danger. Think of you, choosing clarity over comfort. To live as fire is not to be loud. It is to be lit, internally, fiercely. It is when your actions align so tightly with your essence that people feel the heat of your presence, even in silence. Psychology calls it congruence, flow, integration. When who you are, what you feel, and what you do are one flame. But fire needs fuel. And your fuel is honesty. Relentless, radical honesty. Where are you dimming yourself to be liked? Where are you pausing to be accepted? Where are you holding back to fit in? Fire does not fit in. It redefines the space. Living as fire is not about being fearless. It is about fearing the right thing. Not pain, not rejection, but the slow death of a life unlived. So here is your mirror. Are you burning? Not flaring up in flashes, not burning out in exhaustion, but burning steady, bright, present. That is what the world needs. Not more noise, more fire. Because when one person lives as fire, it gives others permission to ignite, and the world changes, not with a bang, but with a blaze. So live as fire. So now, you've seen the silence, carried the weight, faced the void, sparked the flame. And yet, there's one final truth. One most people never dare to face. It's not the world that will end you. It's your own inaction. Not enemies, not failure, but the days you vanish quietly into routine, into pleasing, into scrolling, into nothing. Nietzsche called it the revenge of the mediocre. The world won't often punish you for fading. In fact, it may reward you for being agreeable, manageable, silent. But deep inside, you know, every time you betray your inner fire, something in you dies. A little less courage, a little less clarity, a little less you. Sartre warned us, hell is not fire. It's the gaze of others when you've abandoned yourself. It's living by scripts you never wrote, roles you never wanted, and realizing, too late. Here's the dangerous truth. You cannot have both silence and aliveness. You must choose to live awake or to sleepwalk, to act or to avoid, to burn or to vanish. This is not motivation. It is consequence. Think of those you admire, not for fame, but for fire. That intensity doesn't come from comfort. It comes from choosing again and again to stay awake, to be real, to be seen. And now, you're at that edge too. Not tomorrow, not next year, now. So ask yourself, will you live as fire or fade quietly into someone else's story? And if this question stirred something in you, don't just click like. Choose, burn, create. Let this not be another video. Let this be your turning point. Some choices are loud, others are quiet. But this one, this final one, is made in silence. In how you wake, in how you speak, in how you walk into the day. Not everyone will notice it, but you will feel it. Are you igniting or are you dimming? Every day you choose to speak even when your voice shakes, to move even when you're unsure, to create even when no one is watching, or to wait, to delay, to defer your aliveness to a future that never arrives. Flame or fade, there is no middle. So light the match. Because the world doesn't need more perfection. It needs more fire. Your fire. If this video lit something in you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, speak it, live it. And if you haven't yet, subscribe. Not to this channel, but to your own fire. We're just here to remind you.